Okay, today I want to talk to you about how to choose a theme for your game. It's something I put a lot of emphasis on for my own games, and that's because I think it's really important. Choosing the right theme for your game can really make or break it, and in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to help you make sure you've chosen the optimal theme for your game. What I've done is I've taken a bunch of games that I've created and tried to find the common threads between their themes. Through this process, I've come up with 4 questions you can ask yourself as a way of evaluating your own game's theme. So next time you start a game, run the theme past these 4 questions. It might save you some time and anguish later. Now, the first question, it's not too hard. It is your theme something you're into? You're going to be spending a lot of time working on this game, and the more into it you are, the better the game is just going to be. You ever play a game where you could just tell the creator just wasn't that into it? Yeah, you don't want to make one of those. Instead, you want to be so into what you're doing that you just put tons of love and care into it. So pick a theme that you care about. I think this picture is totally awesome, and I would gladly spend 1,000 hours working on a game with this theme. The more passion you put into this project, the better it's going to be. Okay, next question is, does your theme support the game mechanics? You should be looking for every opportunity you can to support the game's mechanics. You're the creator of the world your game lives in, so choose a world or make a world that fits as snugly with your game's mechanics as possible. If you're making a game where you're jumping from platform to platform and you're trying to not fall on the spikes on the bottom of the screen, don't just arbitrarily choose to make the game take place underwater and make the main character a balloon. You should always be thinking about what characters and worlds will best fit with your game's mechanics. So what's an example of this? Let's say I'm making a tower defense game, and I've got total freedom to choose what I want the good guys and the bad guys to be. So should I just pick 2 things at random? No way. This should be the perfect time to craft my theme to fit the game's mechanics. For the good guys, let's say that I had the additional requirement of not wanting. I didn't want I didn't want it just to be towers because expressionless towers are sort of boring. So I might choose to make them plants because everyone knows plants stay in one place, and that's actually the main difference between tower defense and a strategy game. The other strategy games is that your units stay in one place. So for the bad guys, let's say I want to limit the game to a single screen so I wouldn't need to introduce scrolling controls. I might choose zombies then, because everyone knows zombies move slowly, and that would give plenty of time for players to strategize as the slow zombies moved across the screen. This is also why the game was not Plants vs. Cheetahs. Now, whether you start with the mechanic or the theme, you should be constantly looking to have one influence the other. Once I knew my game was about zombies, I used that to come up with even more game mechanics. And at the end of this process, you should feel like your game's mechanics and theme are tightly knit, and you'll have a much better game for it. The next question is, does your theme communicate the goal? It's kind of a subset of the last question, but I felt like it was important enough to call out on its own. A lot of what games boil down to are, what is my goal in this game? Am I rescuing a princess? Am I saving the world? Or am I defending my house from a zombie invasion? If you strip down the goal of Plants vs. Zombies to its bare bones, you'll see that it's actually stopped the enemies from getting to the left side of the screen. But in adding a theme, we made sure your house was visible on the left to make the goal as clear as can be. And in doing so, we no longer had to spell out to the player what the goal was, as it was just baked into the theme itself. A well-themed goal has the added benefit of immersing the player as well as giving the player more motivation. I've seen cases where a playtester won't be all that engrossed in a game, but then we'll have them test it again once we've added a good theme, and they'll play it all the way through just because we made the goal more meaningful to the player. Question 4 is, does your theme have both familiarity and novelty? I came up with this after noticing a lot of the themes that I've made have familiar concepts, except they all have a twist of sorts. The familiar is what makes your theme instantly relatable, while the novelty makes someone say, whoa, that's new, I've got to check that out. So put yourself in the mindset when the lightsaber was first introduced. Now, how awesome is this thing? It takes all the familiarity of a sword, which lets you have these cinematic sword fighting sequences, but then they're not just swords, they glow and they spark, and they make cool noises. So let's look at a character I created during a game jam last year. He's Octageddon, he's one part Godzilla, everyone gets the giant monster thing, but he's also an octopus that can mutate his limbs into other animal parts, like a cobra head or an elephant snout. And looking at him, you quickly get what he's about, yet you haven't seen anything quite like it before. Now, the trouble with themes that only feature familiar concepts is you'll start to feel like... Trouble with this is you'll start to feel like there's nothing new or interesting about him. And it might feel like a safe move to choose a theme that's been done before, but it's just going to blend in with everything else. But on the flip side, it's also important enough to have enough in your game that's relatable to the general public. If you ignore the familiar and just go with 100% weirdness, you can end up with themes like this. Now, I love the developer that made this game, but it's just so weird that I have no idea what's going on. And then once you achieve that balance, you'll be able to describe in just a few words of why your theme is both relatable and interesting. For instance, you're stopping a zombie invasion using your gardening skills, or you're the owner of a fish tank that occasionally gets attacked by aliens, or you're an octopus that can replace its limbs with porcupines. So, as a quick recap, here are those 4 questions again. Ask yourself these questions when you're starting a new game and use them to evaluate the quality of your theme and make your themes be awesomer than ever. Thanks a lot.